Hello, everyone. Dr. Vicky here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center. Today, I'm going to look at the full moon that's happening on Monday, the 13th. Normally, I do this with Ona on her channel. We do a moon shine episode, but she has decided that she is not going to do that this month, and so she's going to put something out for the full moon, and I'll also put something out for the full moon. So we have a full moon. It's part of the lunation cycle, the cycle between the sun and the moon, which starts and ends monthly. That cycle began at the new moon in Capricorn. It was 10 degrees of Capricorn, and it occurred on the 30th of December. So now, 2 weeks later, we're at the time of the full moon, and something comes to fruition at the time of the full moon. Now, there's a lot going on. Yesterday, the 11th, we had a nodal shift, the nodes of the moon, which are the direction of our evolution, sort of the avenue of evolution as it was, changed signs. Um, we were in Aries, Libra, the north node in Aries, the south node in Libra, and now we have the north node in Pisces and the south node in Virgo. So that's an important shift because it changes the direction of where we're being asked to move. What direction is the direction of for us to evolve? And of course, Pisces is a very diffuse energy. It can be very confusing. It's very hard to pin facts down, but it is a very imaginative time. And so there's a lot of power in the imagination. And so it really does depend on what you're focusing on and where you want to put your energy. We can create heaven or we can create hell. And I think we're going to see a lot of both through this period of time. But that's a longer range look. Let's look at the full moon that's happening tomorrow. I'll pull the chart up for you, fellow stargazers. Now, this chart is erected for uh, Washington, D.C. And so this would apply to the United States as a whole. You can do this to wherever you live. You just have to change the location that you're doing the chart in. So we're going to look at this chart from the perspective of America. That's where I live. And for those of you who are watching, um, thank you for your consideration on this. So we see the full moon here, and it's in a close conjunction with Mars. Mars is, of course, in its retrograde period. Mars retrograde began back on December 6th, while it was in Leo, and it has moved back into Cancer. That occurred on January 6th, and it's going to be in Cancer, going retrograde until February 23rd, and then goes direct, still in Cancer. Normally, Mars will spend 6 weeks in an area of your chart. But when it's retrograde, it spends 6 months. And that 6 months is started when Mars moved into Cancer, actually, um, because that was what we call the pre-shadow of the Mars retrograde. And actually, Mars doesn't really finish its journey through this retrograde period, pre and post shadow, until till May. And we also have, as you can see, Mars here in a pretty tight opposition to Pluto. Because of the Mars retrograde cycle, we actually have three Pluto Mars oppositions. One of them occurred in the third of, hold on, the first one occurred on the 3rd of November. That was 2 days before the uh, election in the US. The second one occurred on January 3rd. This time, the first one occurred in uh, Pluto was still in Capricorn at that time, with Mars in the last degree of Cancer. The second one that occurred in January occurred in the next signs, right? Pluto in Aquarius, Mars in Leo. And then this last one that's going to occur is occurring on the 28th of April in Leo, and Leo, the Mars in Leo direct, and Pluto in Aquarius. So oppositions of Mars and Pluto is part of the evolutionary cycle of Mars and Pluto. Pluto is our unconscious desires. Mars is makes those desires conscious. We become consciously aware in the opposition. And so there's a long period of time that we need to keep our eyes open around awareness of what the soul is trying to say to us. Okay. So that's something to consider. um, I know that a lot of people right now are very concerned about what the future holds. What I would say are there no guarantees as to what's going to happen. So don't assume that things are going to go in a certain way, um, because things are going to change, and they're going to change quickly. So, so I don't know if that makes people feel better or worse, but it doesn't. That's just the way it is. So, I do want to just like focus now in on this opposition. Um, when you see a Mars Moon conjunction in a normal chart, right? In a chart of a person, you might say, "Oh, you or this is a chart of somebody who might get easily frustrated and emotional. Okay, Mars retrograde in Cancer conjunct the moon. But this is also somebody who's willing to fight for their family, or fight for their clan, or fight for their community. We have Pluto and the Sun in Capricorn opposing that. I feel like this is the powers that be, including governmental powers with the sun in Capricorn, but also this technical stuff, the technocrats or the oligarchs, the technical oligarchs, right? In stark opposition to the people and their anger. I think, we have the LA fires going on now. I don't think they're, I think last time I read, the parts of it were 11% contained. And it's just, it continues to devastate. Um, and although they're getting a lot of help now from, other states and actually other countries, I know Mexico and Canada are sending um, firefighters and equipment to California to help them um, deal with this catastrophe. And the government is also helping. Joe Biden helped, offered, I think, 6 months of full support. But 6 months is not a lot of time when you don't have a house and you don't have a home anymore. So there's going to be, I think, a lot of frustration and anger, and perhaps not all of it is going to be directed at the people who are most responsible, which, in my estimation, are the petrochemical companies that knew in the 70s that climate change was a thing and we were going to have fires and storms and droughts, and they didn't care. They were still making the money, and that's all they cared about. So we have to put that into context. Um, at a time when money seems to be the only thing that gets anything done, and most people don't have it because it's being hoarded by the elites. I will just uh, say that with Pluto in Aquarius, um, being an elite is not really all that uh, safe, I might say. Uh, although I guess they can afford good security. Um, and the people are rising up. And I think that here in the United States, if I may say so, I think a lot of people chose the orange one because they thought because he's such a chaos agent that he would create the change that we need now. Um, except that he is, part of the elite. So at some point, that's going to dawn on people, and being an elite is not going to be what it once was. Let's put it that way. Um, and so that is something we will look at. But in this full moon, we see a lot of anger. We see a lot of frustration. We also see a lot of compassion. This conjunction is trining the North Node and Neptune in the ninth house. Um, the ninth house is the house of truth, the house of truth. Um, so this is a very powerful and fraught time. We also have Chiron up here in the 10th house. Um, the United States at this point is going through its Chiron return. We have one more exact conjunction to Chiron. Um, we've had two already, and we have Chiron in Aries as a country, and that is the wounds of war. It can be wounds of identity, wounds around freedom, um, wounds around bullying. Okay. And certainly, as with most countries, our countries was the idea of the country was started by some very high ideals, but we've never really been able to uh, um, live up to them. Although I think we've gone further than most. But right now we're kind of in a regressive period. But I don't think that regressive period is going to last um, as long as some people think. As long as some people think. So we'll see where that all goes, I guess, as we move forward. We do have Mars sextiling the South Node here. You don't see it, but it is sextiling that. And we've had this sort of mystic rectangle in the sky now for weeks and weeks. And a mystic rectangle, you can sort of create your own reality in that. And so we've seen that happen as well. We do have a trine between Uranus and the Sun. This is a what we call a waning trine. It has the overlay energy of uh, Sagittarius. And so this can be revelations of truth. Um, so this is a big time of big emotions, big feelings. And then, of course, the direction forward needs to be one of compassion. Um, and I want to just say this, and then I'm going to pull some cards on this full moon. Um, when I was watching the fires and then watching the after effects when all you see is just like burned out everything, like whole neighborhoods taken down, and people are like, "Oh my God, this is terrible. Can you imagine? Whoever thought this was going to happen? People have lost their homes, people of this, people of that." Sometimes we have to walk in other people's moccasins before we realize what our choices are leading to. And I want to point out that um, what's going on in LA, of course, is a natural disaster, perhaps made worse by uh, poor city planning or whatever. Who knows? Like we're going to have plenty of time to figure that out. But this is what's happening in places like Gaza and the West Bank. These people are getting their homes destroyed, and they're not going to get them back, right? So if we put ourselves in other people's shoes, if we refuse to put our feet in other people's shoes, then we're going to be put in those shoes in different ways. And so the compassion is for all of humanity. We have to stop this madness. We have to stop making money be the only reason, the greed and the avarice. That has to go. That has to go. And we have to start communicating with each other. We have to start organizing to keep all of us safe, not just this person in this country, but the world. We are a global community, whether we like it or not. We are connected, whether we like it or not, and we have to start acting that way. The old days of the big cop on the beat or the big bully is the way of the past. And if we want to have a viable future, we're going to have to start to figure out how to get along and work together for the common good. And I don't think that the people in charge have any vested interest in that. So it's going to be up to us. It's going to be people power. And it's always people power. It's always people power that changes things. Change comes from the bottom up. Change comes from the bottom up. So strengthen your root system, strengthen your connections. Um, and we will navigate through this time. Um, but it's tragedy everywhere. And if you really get caught up in it, it can drag you down. So you have to be very discerning about knowing what's going on without letting it pull you down into the depths of despair. And certainly many of us have been sort of, I don't know, walking through the waters of despair for a while now. But the time for that is over, and we have to start working towards the viable future that we all know that we can do. It's ridiculous. We know we can do this. We know we have the capacity, both in our hands and our hearts, to do this, I think, and it's so very important. All right, I'm going to stop pontificating. I do want to pick a Mystic Sister card. I just happen to have them here. For those of you who didn't get a chance to watch Mystic Sisters last night, it's on Ona's channel, so you can check that out. We talked about some of this as well. We talked about the full moon as well, and then other things. So you can, if you're interested. Um, what does the Mystic Sister Oracle say for this full moon um in Cancer? Mystic Sister Oracle. Here we go. Gaia. Gaia. Um, Peace, tranquility, and serenity. Yeah, how peaceful, tranquil, and serene do you feel right now? Well, let's see what Gaia says. Beautiful card, right? There we go. Gaia is the ancestral mother of all life. She symbolizes abundance, providence, gratitude for nature, promises, and the earth. She is so powerful that she can take all of your worries, pain, and sorrows. She is so sacred that any promise made while touching her soil is irrevocable. Drawing this card calls you to reconnect with the Great Green Mother. Step out of your chaos and regain your center. Spending time in the elements helps to find the true inner peace. Meditate, relax in a body of water, or set out for a hike, or sit beside a fire. Let each moment in nature unravel the knots in your heart and mind. The mother is here for us, and it's time for us to be here for the mother. All right. I think I'm going to leave it at that. Have yourself a beautiful day, everyone. Much love from here. Oh, tonight on Petty Boots, which is going to be on Becca's channel, The House of Lenormand, we're going to be doing a fundraiser for the ASPCA in California, which is, of course, inundated with animals and the like. So we're going to help our fellow man and our fellow creatures. So that begins at I want to say 8 Eastern. I'm sorry, I don't know that. It's either 7 or 8, but you can go on the House of Lenormand and check that out. I'm sure she has something up for that. So hopefully I'll see you tonight. Otherwise, take care of yourself and I'll see you in the morning. Namaste.